I just want to thank everyone again for jumping on today's webinar, where we're going to talk about LEED version 5 and the revisions that are proposed and the impact and implication it may have on the cleaning industry. So my name is John Atkins. I'm an Executive Vice President here at ISSA, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's session. Get into the next slide, please. The goal for today's webinar is really to help the U.S. Green Building Council improve its LEED rating system to really help create cleaner and healthier buildings with reduced environmental impacts. And one of the ways that we as ISSA, the Worldwide Cleaning Industry Association, and the industry as a whole, we want to be able to advocate for more cleaning and ultimately activate all of you and our peers in the industry to submit comments to help you at the USGBC really understand where we're coming from as the global cleaning industry and the implications that this has on all of us and our businesses. So it's a really important issue for us, and I'm pleased to be joined by a couple of experts who can share some additional insights and help you understand the ask and how we can ultimately get those voices out there and have our message heard by USGBC as it relates to everything we're doing cleaning internationally. So next slide, please. Just a brief overview of our agenda for today. I want to provide an introduction to the U.S. Green Building Council and the LEED rating system. We're going to talk a little bit more about LEED version 5, what's changed in the proposed revisions and why that's a concern to all of us in the cleaning industry. We'll talk specifically about how to comment through LEED's website and other means to activate our voices, as I mentioned. And then throughout the talk here, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, please use the Q&A function, which is down on the bottom part of your Zoom screen. Don't use the chat for the Q&A, please use the Q&A function so we can track those and share your questions with Steve and Brian, who you'll hear from in just a moment. So next slide, please. I want to take just a moment to welcome and introduce our speakers today, who you can see on the right side of our screen here. First is Steve Ashkin. Steve spent more than 4 decades in the cleaning industry, where he's considered the father of green cleaning. Steve is uniquely qualified to lead this discussion, as he's been involved with the U.S. Green Building Council since its founding in 1993. He served on its National Board of Directors, and he currently serves on the LEED for Existing Buildings Committee. Steve clearly understands what's at stake and what it'll take for LEED to appropriately value our global industry. And joining Steve today is Brian Johnson, the director of the Ashkin Group's Global Sustainability Practice. He has served as the deputy director of the California Environmental Protection Agency, working with the Department of Toxic Substances Control, and the director of the City of Santa Monica's director of the Environmental and Sustainability Division. Brian's a pioneer in green cleaning in the green chemistry space, having authored one of the first governmental green cleaning programs, and he's worked on state, national, and international green cleaning standard setting initiatives for more than 35 years. So as you can tell, you're in great hands today with Steve and Brian, and I'd like to welcome Steve to kick things off here.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you. You're awesome. And to everyone who's spending some time with us, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. This is an amazing opportunity to celebrate Earth Day. What a better way than to do something to help our global industry and the 100 million people that we support. I've been, as John suggested, involved with USGBC for 3 decades now. And I've really seen how people like us can really help change the future. And so the purpose of today's call is to help familiarize you with what's going on, to make it easy for you to comment. And please, together, we really can make a difference. And this is an important time to do so. So let me jump right into it. For those of you who are not intimately familiar with the U.S. Green Building Council, let me just share a few thoughts. I know many of you are experts on this stuff and have been intimately involved with it, so be patient for just a second. The USGBC is a membership organization, and I point that out because sometimes people think, because of its name, that it is a government organization. It is not. It is a member organization. And I'm sure that many of you on the call today are, in fact, members and have probably even served on their committees and on their executive teams and maybe even became president of their boards. It was founded in '93. They have a bunch of local chapters. And actually, I encourage all of you to get involved locally. It's the best way not only to have your voices heard, but also to network with some amazing people. And importantly, they have over 100,000 accredited professionals. And I point this out because candidly, these LEED APs are sort of the sales force for the U.S. Green Building Council. And they're important people in the whole process. And we just need to be aware of how these guys work and what we need to do to really influence them and educate them on the importance of cleaning. LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And please forgive me, I'm sure all of you who have heard me speak have seen me do this before, but everyone repeat after me. LEED. Come on, I can't hear you. LEED.
LEED.
Thank you. And the reason I do that is please never call it LEEDs. There's no S on the end. And if you ever call it LEEDs to a LEED AP, to a LEED project team, they'll know you don't know what you're talking about. It is LEED because it's an acronym for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. They launched their rating system in the year 2000. The pilot came out in '98, but officially it's been out there for over 20 years. And it is the product. This is how I want you to think about it. It's the product sold by the USGBC. This is how they pay their staff. This is how they pay their rent. This is how they pay their light bills. It is by getting their rating system out there and all the training and other tools that are built around it. And even their annual conference green build is all tied to LEED. It has had enormous amount of success. You can see almost 175,000 buildings around the globe have been certified, and many more follow the guidelines that are found in LEED. So it has had a profound effect, especially in the new construction industry. The way LEED works is it has a set of prerequisites and optional credits. The prerequisites are pass-fail. You got to do all the prerequisites or you cannot get LEED certified. Once you've achieved all the prerequisites, then the more credits, and credits can have a number of points ranging from 1 to 20, but once you pass all the prerequisites, then the projects try to achieve the credits, to achieve the more points, and the more points they get, the higher rating. Importantly, however, is that LEED is reviewed and updated every 5 years. And I can't stress this enough because that's why this timing is so important. This is our chance to really promote the importance of cleaning, and the USGBC needs our help. We need you to comment. They need to hear from us because we won't get another shot at this for 5 more years. Just a quick comparison of where we have just come from and what's proposed in LEED version 5. In LEED 4.1, they had a prerequisite on green cleaning policies or certified services like SIMS-GB or GBAC program or Green Sales GS 42. In version 5, they're eliminating that prerequisite. And we'll talk about that in a minute. In version 4.1, they had 3 points for green cleaning, which is broken down into the custodial effectiveness assessment, entryway systems, powered equipment, and cleaning products. And I know there's 4 bullets up there, but they can only choose up to 3 of those things to achieve the maximum points for green cleaning. In version 5, they still are offering up to 3 points, so they've made no change there. They kind of massaged them a little bit. They did move the entryway systems into a separate credit. So for those of you who sell entryway systems, your points are still in there. And then importantly, they're also for the first time introducing a credit and also a prerequisite dealing with equity. and social equity as it affects the operations and maintenance staff. And again, we'll get into that in just a minute. So the specific changes for measuring cleaning performance and the challenge that we've had with the existing one, which is from APA, is that they've increased the score from 2.5 to 1.5. And in this case, the lower the score, the better. But during the committee calls, and again, as John pointed out, I serve on the USGBC's LEED Existing Buildings Committee. The problem with the APA credit is that it's just subjective. So everyone passed it. Magically, every building is cleaned enormously well. Go figure, right? So what they've decided to do based on what's gone on with COVID is to add ATP testing to start getting more objective measurement of cleanliness. So you now have a choice between those two approaches to cleaning performance. They've just cleaned up the language around the Carpet and Rug Institute's seal of approval. In the products and materials, they've clarified the on-site devices to specifically or additionally include stabilized aqueous ozone. They've added some language, again, from what we learned with COVID about disinfectants that are approved or registered with US EPA using EPA's Design for the Environment program on its active ingredients. They've made some changes to the paper requirements that used to be agricultural waste or rapidly renewable fibers, and they've replaced the rapidly renewable fibers with tree-free fibers. And then finally, they made a change to the plastic liner requirements. And then, as I mentioned, 2 points for social equity. But again, those are just the basics. So those of you who do products get a little bit of a sense of what they've done here.
Hey, Steve, interrupt you real quick. There's a question that came in. It looks like they also removed auto scrubbers from the powered equipment segment. Is that correct?
The requirements for powered scrubbers was pretty vague to begin with. And please forgive me, I believe it's still in there. These are really the changes that have been taken out or removed or changed. So forgive me, John, I'll have to check on that detail.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
But for those of you who do scrubbers and you have an issue about it, you want that language clarified, you want to provide more detail to help purchasers select more environmentally preferable, greener equipment, however you define that, this is exactly the time to submit those comments. So thank you for that question. That's exactly why we're having this webinar. Please be prepared to comment to them. So the USGBC has done a lot of stuff and a lot of really great things. But what I want to encourage all of you is to really think about the future. Think about how we can do things differently and to think big. Think big. Let's not just tweak around the edges. This is your chance to really use different thinking. This is our opportunity. So now I want to get into some of the specific comments or concerns that I have. And the way I want to simply frame this is really to ask you, do you think that cleaning is equal in importance to a one-time occupant satisfaction survey that only requires 15% of the occupants to respond to the survey? Do you really think that all of cleaning, disinfecting, sanitizing, maintenance is equal in importance to a one-time sampling of indoor air quality? All of cleaning, one-time sample of indoor air quality. Do you think that cleaning is equal to only a third the importance of managing waste and recyclables? The way LEED is written now, they incentivize us to use our custodial workforce, our janitors, our housekeepers, our environmental service workers to do more to pull the garbage than to clean touch points and disinfect and address the things that affect people's health? Do you believe that cleaning is 1/3 the value of occupant travel? Really? 1/4 the importance of water efficiency. 1/13 the importance of energy and atmosphere. Now, that might be important when they're building a new building and it's not yet occupied, but do you really believe that if the goal of a building is to create healthy, productive environments for the occupants, that we should focus more on the health and well-being and the contribution that cleaning makes? This is your time to comment, to let them know that they're not thinking about this right. I'm imploring you, please, we need to address these things. And to make it helpful, we're going to talk real quickly about some comments. We'll also be sending out some documents to help you make your comments, make our voices heard. First, we want to encourage them to restore the prerequisite. And I'm not going to read all of this. You can get a copy of the presentation. We'll email you this link. But the fundamental issue is cleaning is not just about using the right products, using recycled toilet paper and plastic bags with recycled content and green chemicals. That's not enough. We know how important labor is and that they're properly managed, they're properly trained, that we're doing quality control and all the other things, the things that tie into SIMS GB, that tie into GBAC and the other programs. They need to include this. So please consider encouraging them to restore the prerequisite. Remember, this is pass-fail. If it's in there, everyone just has to do it. The weighting, the 3 points, what I just talked about earlier. There's too few points in an operating building to properly address the needs of our occupants. We want to encourage more points to incentivize more cleaning for health. This is our opportunity to make sure they understand that LEED can be used to overcome the barriers that force down our pricing, that minimize the labor hours in our buildings. We can do better with the right resources, and LEED can help incentivize and reward buildings that do that. In the social equity area, the social equity credit is currently designed for construction workers and people working in mines in developing countries where they really are dealing with slave labor and forced labor. It is not appropriate for the people directly in our buildings, whether they're employees or they're contracted workers. And it's not just about cleaning people, it's about our landscapers and pest applicators and parking attendants and security guards, mailroom people, all the services that our industry provides. We have to make sure they're addressing it properly from a safety perspective and including the issues specific to the needs of our workers, the wages, the productivity rates, the hours they're working, injury rates, tenure. Do they even have insurance? Do the companies provide insurance for their workers? And all the other things, of course. We don't want to have slave labor and child labor, but this is an opportunity, especially in the existing building rating system, to make it more specific to our workers. And if you pretend you have a little magic lantern and the genie's going to pop out and you can get your 3 wishes. Think big. Think about all the things you would love to see in LEED. This is your chance to have them addressed. If you have comments about product innovations, new robots, occupancy sensors for demand-based cleaning, anything you can think of, this is the time to comment. If your company or as a distributor, you deal with other innovative products, whether it's floor pads, mops, buckets, this is your chance to encourage them to put it in LEED. And then there's other things. If you think about extended product responsibility or green chemistry, processes that reduce energy and water, right? Cleaning with cold water, all these kind of issues. How do we reduce waste? How do we reduce product consumption? If you have ideas, comment on it. How do we make things better? And this is also an opportunity if you have concerns even about what Green Seal's doing, Underwriters Lab's doing, EPA Safer Choices doing, the Carpenter Rug Institute. LEED can add requirements on top of their standards. For example, if we want to get greenhouse gas emissions, and if these certifiers aren't addressing it, LEED can encourage and require that additional data on top of what these certifications are asking for. So my message to you is think big, think outside of the box. We can't change their thinking. We can't solve the problem with the same thinking that created it. Think big, think bold. This is our chance. I'm asking you, please comment, and please get at least 5 of your colleagues to comment. That's the only way they will listen to us. We need them to hear our voices.
Hey, Steve, I got a quick question for you. Going back to the social equity piece for wages, can LEED refer to an existing third party for living wage calculations?
That's probably exactly what we'll need to do, right? Because every community is different. And there have been people studying this very granularly for decades now. So yes, the living wage should be tied to the needs of local communities.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, please allow me to turn it over to Brian, and Brian can share some thoughts about how specifically to comment to make it easy for everyone to do that. Because remember, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. That's you guys. That's us guys. It's the only way it ever has. We can do this.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. And indeed, my only caveat to that last quote is it can be a big group of people too. So we are looking to grow this initiative to not just a select few, but we feel these issues are deep enough, are such a problem for us that Steve, as you heard, was passionately encouraging us to comment. And I'm going to walk you through just briefly what the process is so that you can submit comments to USGBC. And the first point is everyone can comment. Each and every one of you can comment. You don't have to be a USGBC member. You don't even have to be an ISSA member, although that is super helpful and makes us more powerful. You can comment as an organization, you can comment as an individual, but we need folks to take the 20 minutes to submit comments. And so please know your opinions are valuable and your opinions are necessary. Next slide. Okay, these will be a few slides on the mechanics of walking through how you can actually submit your comments. So we start, you have to open a free account, and this is the landing page for USGBC. There's the account button up there where the red arrow is, and this is only to ensure that you and or your organization, however you are submitting your comments, are legitimate individuals and not bots. So we just have to answer a few simple questions about our identity, name, organization, phone number, that sort of thing. Once you have an account, next slide, please, you can then switch to their credits website, which is oddly enough where we submit comments. And I'm going to walk you through the steps to get to that comment section. So this is their credit library, which I'll apologize on behalf of USGBC. This is not an intuitive process. At least it wasn't for me. And so we're going to show you exactly how to walk through this, and all of this will be available to you. We're going to make this presentation available so you can revisit it and easily submit comments, because we do not want this to be the barrier for our industry submitting comments. So once you're at this credit library website, you'll notice up the upper portion there are two boxes: select a rating system and select a version. Next slide, please. What you need to do there is make sure that we're commenting on the right documents at USGBC. So you go through a menu and you select LEED O+M for existing buildings, for the rating system, and for the version, it's V5 Public Comment 1. And you will be prompted. Those are all on a drop-down menu. So you just enter those and you're off to the races. Once you enter those, you'll see those what are essentially chapters or elements in the rating system that will be listed below. And you'll see it with the logo, etc. When you enter these two pieces of information, next slide, please, you will be given that menu, and you can scroll down through those chapters. And we need you to comment. We are hoping that you will comment in these two sections, because the way USGBC works is that they want the comments for green cleaning in the green cleaning section. So you simply scroll down to these two chapters, you click on them, and that will get you to the comment box. To the next slide, please. So once you're in green cleaning, you can read through, you can review it. You may already have your comments prepared, but you click on that comment box with the red arrow. You will not see a red arrow on their version of it. This is for your edification. And then once you click on that arrow, next slide, please. This is where you can enter your comment. Okay, so that box, and I do not think there's a limit on the length of that, where you can enter your comment. And again, this would be specific to green cleaning. And you can then move to the social equity chapter and enter your comments there. I would encourage you, because this does not have great functionality in the way I do it, when I'm entering comments, is that I put together a Word document, edit it, make it all nice there. Then you can just simply cut and paste it into this comment box. Once you've done that, you just hit the add a comment, and your comment then is submitted and registered. Okay. One of the things we're hoping to do is for us to be able to maintain a barometer of the cleaning industry's response to these problematic standards, and asking that when you comment, if you would send us a copy of that. And we're setting up a mailbox so that those comments can come to ISSA, so we can keep a finger on the pulse, hold USGBC as accountable as possible for what our industry is saying about these issues. So please, when you comment, please do make a copy of that and just fire it to this mailbox. So,
hey, Brian, if I could interrupt you real quick. Question on public versus private comments. Should you make your comments public or private? Does it matter?
That's a matter of personal choice. They will all have the same weight. It really depends upon whether you like your name and organization associated with them. I make public comments because I want to see people. I'd like people to see that I'm involved and I'm pretty pissed off about this. So I tend to go public on that. Okay.
Thank you. Just another quick question that came in as you were speaking. Do you have a list of recommended comments, and will we be sharing a copy with folks?
Absolutely. We are putting together a toolbox for folks to use when they comment, and there will be up to and including a template of comments that include even more expanded versions of the issues that we've spoken about today, so that you can simply cut and paste these issues. If they strike you as problematically as they do for us, you can just cut and paste right into the comment box. And we want to make this as easy as possible. So again, there will be no barriers to submitting comments.
Thanks, Brad.
And if I could just jump in for a second. Obviously, you can tell the passion and concern that we have, but fundamentally, the people at the USGBC are wonderful, caring, smart people that are trying to do the right thing. The problem is nobody knows everything. So those data gaps, those information gaps, because they don't clean buildings, they don't understand the challenges with doing it and all the different building types, et cetera. So my point being, think of this as how can we be helpful to the US Green Building Council? How can you be helpful to all the hundreds of thousands of LEED projects out there and the millions of people in their buildings and the millions and millions of workers in our industry in those buildings? Be helpful, be supportive of them, give them good information, and that's how we can get them to change. And of course, numbers matter.
Steve, let me be a little more blunt. Most of these standards are put together by architects and LEED consultants who are tremendously talented, smart people who generally think about the cleaning industry about once every 5 years. They are not the experts in this. You, each and every one of you, are the experts. They need our help and we need their attention. And this is the way that we get their attention. Okay, so they put together a standard kind of based on what they've done before, and we have advanced, we have progressed, we have more progress on the horizon, and that's really what this is about. We cannot live with something that is sort of, in my opinion, somewhat arcane and does not reflect the state and the status of our industry. So the next slide, please. This is the calendar. We have until May 20th to submit our comments. So I will ask you all, please get on this. This is something we only have a few weeks. Don't put it off until May 19th and be sitting around Sunday evening on the 19th, trying to remember if you send in comments. We will have these resources available to you. As I mentioned, this toolkit that will make it as convenient as possible. And I believe literally take about 15 or 20 minutes. You may have your own set of concerns, and we encourage you to look at these documents. But if you don't have the time, because we know you're busy professionals, we've tried to put these things together in a succinct way that you can then leverage them to put into your comments. So May 20th.
And if I could, and ask 5 of your colleagues to do the same thing. Whether you're a contractor, ask your supervisors, ask 100 of your frontline workers to do it. If you're a distributor, have your warehouse people, your drivers, the other salespeople, senior staff. If you're a manufacturer, have everyone in your company submit comments. Everyone. Numbers matter. So please, as Brian said, submit your comments. We'll make it as easy for you as possible. But come on, you folks are experts at this. Any comment is helpful. So please help us drive the changes that we know are important. Because if we miss this opportunity, we lose a prerequisite, we get no other chance to address this for at least 5 more years.
So this is as much a political process, or even more so, than it is a technical one. So making your voice heard as an industry expert, someone engaged and a professional in the industry, is super, super important. So we go to the next slide. So I've been involved in public comment processes for decades, and I've done scores and scores of them as a government agency, as a standard setting agency, in many different roles. But there's a couple of truisms that really hold throughout all of those different processes. If you're not engaged, your chances of impacting the outcomes are negligible. We need to engage. We don't want to miss our seat at the table, put in our comments, because then you end up being what's eaten in that process. And I do not want that to happen to us. It is just not It's not the way that we want to see our industry progress. The second is silence is interpreted as agreement. So if we do not speak up, no one will speak up for us, and there will be a tacit understanding of, well, the cleaning industry didn't really engage. We must have really hit the bullseye with those standards. And I would argue they're not even on target. They need to do some work on these, and this is how we get that work done. So please, next slide. You are the experts. We have until May 20th. We're putting the toolbox together for you. We'd love to have additional conversation about this today, over the coming several weeks, to help you understand, to help your organizations understand the importance of this. And we're now going to move to a question and answer period if we have any questions amongst the participants, so that we can explore a little bit deeper. And also, just again, I'm sorry, John, the process that we just went through, those electronic mechanical processes of where you go, what do you click on, will be a part of the toolbox, so you can get there easily.
Yes, we had a couple of additional questions and comments come through, and I appreciate everybody using the Q&A function throughout the session today. One, really to reinforce the point about commenting, USGBC gets pressure to elevate all of the other categories, especially energy. So really cleaning is no different here, and this is a great way to rally together. There was one question, maybe Steve, you can answer this based on your involvement with the LEED committee, but could we be helpful by hosting a meeting for any of the LEED committee at the ISSA show them the innovations, have a get on the same page conversation? Obviously, time is of the essence with this particular matter, but what do you think about that?
I think that could be quite valuable. I think it's a good idea, and maybe, John, we can tie it into our sustainability committee if you like, but however we do it, information is valuable. The more we get educated on their process and the more they get educated on what our industry knows, only makes it better for everybody. So I think that's a great question or a great suggestion. And this is great thinking outside of the box, right? This is the kind of thinking that we should be sharing with them. Think big.
Absolutely. And I appreciate everybody that's expressed enthusiasm to comment as soon as you receive the toolkit. And there was another question, how will we get the toolkit mentioned in the webinar? I can speak to that. We're going to send out a follow-up email with all of the resources from today's session, the deck, the video, and then the toolkit that you can use for the cutting and pasting if you want, or the comments that you can adapt in your own words.
And John, just to add on to that, we will be putting up a page on the ISSA website that will contain all of these resources and links. So if you just want to go to issa.com, you should be able to find it as well.
Yeah,
in a few days
as well.
In a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of this is rolling quickly. It's a 45-day comment period, and they just debuted these issues or the new standard about a week and a half ago. So we have been working diligently to get the word out to you. This is a work in progress. We are so pleased that you're here today, and we want to continue to support you by getting you these tools in just 2 or 3 days, so that you have what you need to actually do what we're imploring you to do.
And for those of you who are actually involved with your local USGBC chapter, please talk to them. I actually just got back from Detroit. I did a presentation for the Detroit chapter. I know Brian's been reaching out to some of them on the West Coast out here where Brian lives, but they want to do better, right? I mean, it's not like they have something against the cleaning industry. We just compete with a lot of other interest groups, a lot of other priorities. And I put the air quotes around that because that's literally what they told me. They just have other priorities, like incentivizing testing indoor air quality, right? We have to be able to speak up and educate people. So if you're involved with your local chapters, ask if you can talk to them about it. Ask if you can share the importance of cleaning. And if you want, I'll even share with you the slide deck I put together. The bottom line is, please understand how important this time period is. We get one shot. The next time comes in 5 years. As you can tell, I feel this sense of urgency. Candidly, I'm getting old. I don't know if I'll still be involved with the USGBC in 5 more years. I've paid my dues. You guys need to take the next step. We need you to be involved. Please, so engage with them. Talk to everyone. You are the experts, and we need you.
Okay, well, I think we have answered all the questions that have come through in the chat. So a last call for questions here in the next 30 seconds. Otherwise, Steve, Brian, if you have any closing comments.
You know, Steve has said it so well. This is the moment. We can't do this next month after. This is the time that we need to make our expertise and the value of cleaning known to the process. Again, these are good people, you know, at USGBC. They just don't think about us, and it's our job to put ourselves on their map in a way that is rational, is advocacy, and helps them understand that the value of cleaning that we learned so clearly through the COVID-19 episode is a critical element to protecting occupant health, and that's what we are all about. So please, this is our chance.
Thank you. And I got a couple questions in the meantime, so thank you for that, Brian. So what is the industry downside or negative impact if V5 goes through as written?
You know, much of it is really just simply tied to a lack of appreciation for our industry. You know, it's basically the USGBC making it okay for us to do less cleaning. You know, it just devalues our industry. And, you know, we'll keep doing our jobs. We get it. So more than what's the downside is to really understand what the upside is. That's the opportunity. It's not just about complaining about the USGBC, but the opportunity to do something big. You know, right now we're in the basketball playoffs. We're like the 10th seed that now gets to compete to win the championship. This is our opportunity. It's game time, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the big dance. Let's show up. Let's show them the importance of our industry. So it's not just the downside, it's the upside. And if there is a downside, for those of you who have spent money and time working on SIMS or working on GBAC or doing GS42 or all these other things, who invest in your people, who try to do the right thing, this is an opportunity for us to showcase and to really explain to people what makes a better company. Otherwise, it's the lowest price is the only thing that matters. So think big. Think of it as an opportunity for us to really make sure that good companies are rewarded and to help them understand, what does it mean to work with a good company? What does it mean to buy from a good manufacturer that makes good products, or to buy from a good distributor that really knows what they're doing, how to train, that really looks at what they're doing, to work with service providers that have the tools and the quality control systems and management systems, the efforts to be able to make sure, you know, do contingency planning, all of the things that will keep our building safe and healthy and high performing. That's the real opportunity.
Thank you, Steve. A couple other questions have come in since. When will we know that there's a critical mass when it comes to the comments?
After they do the comment period, then it'll be in the hands of USGBC staff and committees. As mentioned a few times, I serve on the EB committee. So what's appropriate for me to share, because some of the conversations are supposed to be private, but we'll be battling with them. You can be assured, and especially those of you who know me, I'm not shy. So you can be assured that I will be speaking up. And candidly, they've heard all these comments. They've heard them all. They're just not listening. That's why the comment period is so important. So we get the numbers so they will listen. So after the first public comment period's over, USGBC will submit some additional information. They'll start making tweaks. And then there will be an opportunity, I believe, for a second public comment period. But we will definitely keep you posted. Everyone who's registered for this webinar, everyone who sends us comments, even if they weren't on the webinar because you encouraged them to do so, we will keep you up to date if we capture your email information. We promise we won't overwhelm you, but we will definitely keep you posted.
You know, John, if I just quickly add, I think it's a great question that was posed. What if we do nothing? What's the implication of that? In my mind, immediately went to practical implications of essentially lowering the bar for one of the most recognized standards for cleaning and green cleaning that is used around the world. Regardless if you are working in one of those 170-some thousand buildings that are registered with and certified with USGBC, it is the standard that people point at consistently across the industry is like, okay, well, if you're doing green cleaning, these are the important attributes of your program. If that, we've taken away the prerequisites, so you don't need these organizational standards, you don't need these training requirements, you don't need these planning requirements. In my mind, we have lowered the bar in a way that is not productive for our industry. It is not a way to help demonstrate the value that we bring to the real estate industry. So there are practical implications. It's not only a missed opportunity, it is truly, I think, something that will damage us in the eyes of the entire global real estate industry and building management industry.
You know, and as Brian said, and you've heard a couple of times about losing the prerequisite, that prerequisite was put in 2009. So removing that prerequisite sets us back pre-2009. It sets us back 15 years to when the only thing that mattered was a green product. So that is a setback. We can help them make it better.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your insights and expertise and frankly, your passion for the issue and activating everybody on the call today. And I want to thank all of you for joining us on the webinar and for your questions. So just to remind you, we'll be in touch here in the next few days with the follow-up materials, all the comments and the link to the resource page on our website. So you have all of that handy. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And, you know, again, a reminder for the LEED comments at issa.com email address too, as you submit those comments. It'll be really helpful for us to aggregate all of those and see how we're doing relative to that critical mass question. So again, thanks everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your week and a happy Earth Day.